Hey there everybody, it's Chris Edgerly, the voice of Hidan in Naruto, and you are watching BAM Collectibles as they unbox the ultimate Hidan statue. First of all, thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting anime and particularly Naruto. And I have to say, Naruto fans and Hidan fans are some of the most passionate fans out there, especially for a character as despicable, as reprehensible, as completely unmitigated, and as fun as Hidan is to perform. In the future, keep tuning in because they do stuff like this, cool stuff like this, all the time. And I thank you too. And we will see you out there in Naruto land. Enjoy.
Now, you unbeliever, it's time to die!
Thank you so much, Chris, and welcome everybody to BAM Collectibles. We are going to be unboxing, again, as he said, the ultimate Hidan statue. It is made by UTS Studio, and this is actually my first piece from UTS, so I am excited to be able to share this, and only 228 were made. As you can see here on the bottom, there is that edition size, and then we have a nice little picture of Hidan sitting on the bottom. For everyone that's viewing this video right now, you can probably easily tell in the background that is Two Tails from Matatabi. But when this statue went up for pre-order, as we can see here, it just looked like blue chakra in the back. Here's another close-up picture, so you can imagine I was surprised and happy to find that out. Now, unfortunately, I made the silly mistake of carrying or moving the statue around by picking it up by the tails, and one of the tails ended up actually pulling off. So I put it back on with some blue tack, but it can easily be pulled off like this, and this is very important because it needs to support the statue. So I had an idea while doing this. Before we share the idea, I want to give you an up-close look at that's the bottom where it disconnected from the glue, and then you can see some of the details on the actual tail itself. Again, for those that will own this statue or do own this statue, you know that these tails are not supposed to be removable. Before we jump into that idea, we'll take a close-up look at the statue. We can see his headband is there on the front and that nice little red trim that goes around the base. All along here as well, we'll see some kind of like some skeletons or some bones popping up from there. And then in the center, you'll see all that nasty and yucky dried up glue that, again, the tails had ended up disconnecting from. And I ended up pulling the second tail apart from it. Do not, and I want to reinforce, do not try this unless you are very comfortable with the process. So here are some LED strip lights that I had extra that I'm actually planning on mounting to the bottom because there's a little bit of a gap between the bottom of the base and the actual tails that I end up pulling off. After installing the lights, putting some epoxy glue on, and 24 hours later, here is the outcome. For those interested in some of the supplies that I use, check out my BAM Collectibles Amazon. The link's in the description for some of those. But really, this was an amazing opportunity to turn lemons into lemonade because I was so upset when I broke the tail off, but then I was like, wait a minute, I turned this into a happy little accident. This statue actually came with two bases, so this is the first base, and one of the forms of Hidan can stand on there. And if you want to not put him on this base and plug up those little notches or where it keys into, you can use these little pieces that they included on there to plug it up. So the paint job on this is interestingly done where it's like a metallic red as we saw before. To add a little artistic flair to the statue, we all know that when Hidan activates his curse mark, it's not as big and dynamic and flowing as we see here in the statue, but they did, again, make it a little artsy and add different effect pieces like this long one that attaches to one of the tails. To represent the Jashin curse mark on this statue, they sculpted this large piece separately. Here's the notch with a small magnet on there that's going to attach to the rest of the base. And the front side of this, we can see a little bit of like blood dripping down. The back side of it is primarily flat. And the paint application used for this, again, is the metallic looking red. For my specific statue, I have to say that this didn't fit in there too perfectly. I had to kind of push it in a little bit. And I think it's only resting there with friction, not by the magnet, but maybe that's just because I had the issues with my tail and the customization that I did. UTS Studio did include this secondary base, which is such a cool option for us. So on the bottom is a felt pad, and then we can see the headband and the same trim as that main base on there. And we can see Asuma's lighter is going to be tied to this one. So the first base is themed after when Hidan and Kakuzu attack, Yugito and Matatabi and try to get the Two Tails, while this one is more themed after the Asuma battle. So the curse mark on the base looks a lot more natural and like what we know in the show. As expected, here is Hidan's Scythe or Sickle that they included. We have that nice looking red metallic paint, some blood dripping down in front. For the most part, everything is made of resin. Now, the actual pole that's going through the center of everything is made of metal so that over time nothing bends or warps. And then we have the handle, which is made of what looks like plastic. It's not resin, but then we have this piece that goes onto the end. That's that chain section that he uses to kind of whip it around or swing it as needed. I believe that's also made of plastic because it has a bit of a bend to it, allows it to move. It's not going to snap too easily. There is everything together. Really big. It has a large presence as we see it in the show, so it didn't skimp out on any details or scale anything down. This just rests on the back of this secondary base. And here we have the curse mode version of Hidan. What a crazy perfect pose that they chose. Looking at the bottom, we'll see the notches where he keys in to the bottom of the base. Of course, the toes are painted accordingly. On the back of the statue, I have no idea. Maybe my memory is failing me or I'm not searching the right thing, but what the heck are these? At first, I thought they might have been those extendable poles that he uses to stab himself, but they look a little bit too thick for that. So if somebody knows what those are, let me know in the comment section. One of my favorite details about this statue is he has a hole that's coming through the back of him, and then on the front section, we'll see a holes at the top of his chest. So he's actually piercing himself in the statue with this victorious stance. I gotta say, whoever sculpted this or whoever was behind this project must have loved Hidan as a character. Now, as if having the holes through his chest wasn't enough, we have this crazy looking piercing that's going through with that rod again that he uses to stab certain pinpoint parts of his body. And then here's the part that comes on the backside of it that's definitely a lot more thin, and blood we can see has totally drenched that needle tip. There's how everything looks together. Pretty brutal. I love how they did the transparent looking blood that shoots out of the front. That's crazy to have that little detail added on there. And here is the hand that is sculpted separately that does have him with the ring on it. For those maybe checking out statues for the first time, sometimes they sculpt different pieces separately because they could break during the shipping process, so it's easier to sculpt them separately like this. Here we have his headband protector and then the Joshin looking necklace that he wears around his neck, and here's the head sculpt, right? So as if the pose, the details, the blood, the spike wasn't enough, look at that sadistic, psychotic look that they captured on his face. They have a nice little glossy coat to the eye, and if you look really close, you can almost see some veins popping out of there as well. But this is one of the best head sculpts I have ever seen. We'll get everything together on this base so you can see how it looks. I love the pose, right? It looks so victorious, like you imagine him being after he's taken Asuma's life. He was so happy about it. One of the saddest moments in the series for me, but man, did they do this moment justice. And to put the cherry on the icing of the cake, they gave us one of Asuma's blades to put on the base. Now, I didn't see anywhere specific for this to mount to, so I'm just going to lay it here next to it, but a well thought out detail to add for this secondary base. Man, I was a baddie and forgot to put this hand on Hidan, so we'll go ahead and get that done. But again, you have multiple options, right? You can have how we have the cursed form over here on the right on its separate base, themed after Asuma's battle, or we can just add him right over here to the main base and just move this secondary one aside. With how everything is now, this is an amazing statue as it is, but it's crazy to think they went above and beyond and added the normal form of Hidan to have on this statue. This is why I'm pretty much dubbing this the ultimate version of Hidan's statue, because I don't think anyone's, first off, nobody's done better as this, right? We've had different variations that have come out with Cloud Studio, Surge Studio, but nobody's included both forms like this on a base. They have themes tied into it. The level of accuracy, the details that they added, it is just a legendary piece that is coming together. As we can see with the holes in the hands, this is already going to be a super dynamic pose where he is going to be aerial. The hole in the sleeve is where the chain's going to key into, as well as each hand was sculpted separately and can be removed, installing itself with magnets. I'll also add too that they did a great job with the red cloud decals, with it looks like it's flowing with the actual sculpt of the statue. He keys into the largest tail, so again, it was so scary when that broke off, but I'm so happy I was able to fix that accordingly. Here is that headband and necklace as well, and then we have the normal version of the head sculpt here. Oh! Thank goodness for carpet. That bad boy bounced and rolled just like it did in the show when it got cut off. Now, as we can see, the sculpt is pretty much similar for the hair, and then we have this emotion going on with the blood on the tongue, as if he's about to transition into that curse mode itself. Again, still looking psychotic and sadistic the way that we know him in the show. And exactly like the other one, they actually included a separate Scythe or Sickle on here, so you have two that's included. That was a nice thing too, right? They didn't just give you one and you could reuse it. They gave you one to mount up here that he can hold and use, and then also one on the secondary base if you wanted to display it. We'll go ahead and link that chain into the hole in the sleeve cuff we did before, but it's crazy. So for this statue, they actually have the weapon that's resting against a piece of the chakra that goes on the tail, so it is helping support that. But it is time to dim the lights and take a look at this bad boy coming together. Oh my gosh, this has to be one of the coolest customizations that I've ever done, and I can't believe that it happened on accident. I never would have found this out if I didn't accidentally have that tail fall off. But I do want to also mention, included as an edition size plaque is this metallic little gold themed stand. We can see the edition size in that bottom right corner and kind of a silhouette of Hidan. Also this acrylic kickstand they have where you can display it next to the statue on the side. I know the lights do look cool from the front, but I do want to showcase how it looks like in the back. It's super ugly, disgusting looking. I add all these lights on with just tape. I tape them on there because I don't want to do anything too permanent that would damage the statue, but that's how it looks. Extremely ugly, but the ends justify the means, or I guess the means justify the end result in how it looks when you flip it around front like this. There you have it, the ultimate Hidan statue by UTS Studio. Thank you so much for joining along today. Thanks again for Chris for doing the intro. And everybody, I'll see you in the next video. As always, do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.